did my bachelor's and master's in 5 years. So I taught, right? So I kind of I steamrolled through. Yeah, I'm a bad example for taking time.
I did the master's program full time, but I worked throughout it. And I don't, like Northeastern, it's night school. I don't know what your experience was at Yale. But, I mean, each program is really different. So I think it's good that you have more time because, like I said, I didn't really know what I was getting into. But you can use that time to ask questions because sometimes if it's a school of public health, that means that it has the master's level program and then the PhD, so you could stay with the same people if you think that that's something on your horizon, which I had no idea, like, what? That's something you should think about? But I'm sure, I mean, there's lots of examples of people we went to school with who are going part-time and working full-time and had been in the field, for 15 plus years. So it was really interesting to hear their perspective versus us being like, it's brand new. So there's a range.
And with taking time off, I'm also kind of concerned about getting like academic recommendations. I know this is sort of general, but especially coming from a big school, do you have any advice about that?
Get them now.
Yeah.
Get them now and store them.
Mm-hmm.
But don't a lot of programs want them to be confidential and shipped straight to the university?
And unfortunately, Northeastern doesn't have a credentialing service, but there's a web service called Interfolio, and there are probably other ones. We've looked at Interfolio, where you pay a annual fee of like $20, and your recommendations can be sent there, confidential, and sent out at the time.
The other thing is that, especially if you've taken time off, so you want those academic recommendations, absolutely. But if you've taken time off, they're also looking for you to have a life outside of that. So they'll ask, you'll want to get professional recommendations as well. And some places will ask, like if you weren't employed there or you volunteered there, you can get a recommendation from there. So your recommendations become much broader when you apply to life beyond college.
I went to a big school also, and I hadn't gotten recommendations in advance. I went to BU, and so it was 3 years later, and I thought there's no way anybody's going to remember me because I tried to be unnoticed in the back of the room. But I wrote a couple of professors and reminded them of a paper that I wrote, and I got stuff. I had great responses. I think that your professors really may remember you.
Yeah. I'm working co-op, and I get asked for recommendations all the time. And I think the main thing is, if you ask now, ask for coffee, and then say, how would I send this to you in 3 years when you did? And then they just really excited. Because they're not going to remember. And it's better to get them while the details are fresh in their head without having to pay $20, and then they can still send in a confidential thing later on. But you're not asking them to remember, you're not asking them to say that you've got coffee and say that they're like, and then you say that it hasn't changed yet.
Sir, I have a question over here.
How did the Peace Corps help you with the perspective?
It definitely helps a lot, especially going into the program and getting into a program. And lots of MPH programs, they do want to see that you have some experience in working in public health or just some experience other than just undergrad. So I think that it helps a lot for that. But that could be said for any sort of other type of thing that you want to do in time off between college and an MPH program.
In what ways?
In terms of getting into the program, or
Right. Yeah. How do you think the Peace Corps benefited you overall, like specifically, relating to your experience?
Well, it benefited. I mean, it was an incredible experience for me, and I had a unique perspective going into the program because I had seen, I had sort of lived there and seen community health happening, but I think it also shows that you've had you've worked somewhere, you've worked in a setting, working and have been thinking about community health. I've worked on lots of health promotion campaigns while I was in the Peace Corps, and project planning. So I knew a little
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the timeline and applying to school? Sort of like, because I know with med school you have to start like 5 years in advance. So I was just wondering, like, getting your GREs and all that stuff when you should start. Let's say hypothetically if you're planning on going right after graduation.
Sure. So the GRE is given on a pretty consistent schedule. I think it's almost monthly that you can do it like online. You can do it at a computer. It's not like the LSAT or the MCAT where you have to wait until it's offered. And really certain you can do it at any point. So for me, I did it in the fall, and then I applied to schools for like a April 1st deadline or something like that. I think generally it's best to just get it all done. Just get it all done and then see when everything's due. I mean, pay attention to those things, but it was definitely faster. I had also applied and had been accepted to law school, and I chose not to go to law school and to continue what I was doing now. So in comparison to having applied to law school, the GRE and going after a master's program was much simpler as far as the formal application process was considered. So.
And have you heard of SOPHAS? Is that how you say it? SOPHAS. I don't know how to describe it, but it's basically like a lot of schools of public health have this one sort of standard application process.
I think I just didn't know it was
I probably just butchered the name, but they, on their website, you can see, so they'll have all their participating schools and when their deadlines are, and sometimes there's priority deadlines if you want funding or if you want to be, a research assistant or whatever. So I think it's never too early to start scoping it out, especially if you want to introduce yourself to the program, maybe talk to a current student. But I think it's also good to have your transcripts and those letters of recommendation like ahead of schedule, just because I've heard of horror stories where like they just missed the deadline or like they were really counting on one person to write something and they never heard back. But I think you sort of just plan ahead and get to a point where you're comfortable and just ask a lot of questions, because the worst thing you want to do is sort of miss out on a school just because you glanced on their website and never really connected with someone.
I want to emphasize if you can get your application materials in earlier rather than later, particularly regarding financial aid. Every school is different, but some will make their financial aid decisions on a rolling basis, and so the earlier you have your materials in, the better. Note about the GRE, they're changing the test August 1st, and it's getting much harder. So if you're going to take the GRE, try to take it before the new one. Yeah, good news, right? I don't know how long the GRE score is good for.
5 years.
How many? 5 years. Okay, so all the more reason.
It's offered every day, except for Sunday.
So
Yeah, it's offered all day.
study,